Hello and welcome to MBC Exclusive with me, Jane Gogodas. When the Democratic Progressive Party came into government, it pleased His Excellency the President, Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, to appoint a Public Service Reform Commission, which is headed by the Vice President, Right Honorable Saulos Chilima. And the aim of the Public Service Commission is to facilitate the creation of an effective and efficient public service that will spur economic growth through the nurturing of a market economy that is foreign direct investor friendly, as well as one that will facilitate long-term investments in health, education and other local programs. And to talk us through the findings that have just been released is the Vice President himself, Right Honorable Saulos Chilima. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Just talk us through about the whole process and to where we are now. I know this is just the bulk of what you're supposed to do. Just how has it been, and what are the major findings that are in your report?
Right. Thank you very much. First and foremost, perhaps to start by thanking the President, His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, for having confidence in the 8 of us, my colleagues and I, to embark on this exercise to identify opportunities for reform. My colleagues, namely Commissioner Krishna Savjani, Commissioner Professor Peter Manza, Commissioner Bright Mangulama, Commissioner Seodi White, Commissioner Evelyn Mapasa, Commissioner Reverend Matiankoma, and Commissioner Tom Mpinganjira, that we've been working over the last 6 months. Basically, where we started from was to try and find out what exactly is a reform, what is it about, and then having, we split our exercise into 3 phases. First was to find out what has been happening. Second was to analyze that information, and then the third was to make recommendations for the way forward. In between, of course, whatever we came across as quick wins, we immediately sent proposals to the President for his approval. I would like to thank him for approving the majority of them, because we have implemented, and the ones that were not approved were deferred. For instance, the Green Belt Initiative, which we have finally sought and obtained his approval. In the first instance, or in the first phase, we were basically looking at what sort of attempts have been made in the past. Our attempt was attempt number 80, because there were 79 other attempts in the past to try and reform, 79, to try and reform the public service. And ours is the 80th attempt. Now,
What period are we talking about?
well, I think it dates back as far as 10-15 years ago.
Right.
As a matter of fact, maybe even beyond that. What we then say to ourselves is, first, before we even start from the dark or from nowhere, let's understand what our friends have done in the past, and also to try and understand what exactly led to the failure, because it basically means the 79 attempts didn't achieve as much as they would have loved to achieve. So we looked at the reports, we spoke to people. If you recall, back in July, we sent out invitation for input through an email address that we published in the print media, and then eventually, of course, my colleagues undertook a study tour to Kenya, the UK, and then Singapore. Now, having understood what had been done in the past, and also taking into account the concerns from the different stakeholders, when we came back, we looked at the information and began to look at whether there were some emerging themes. What are the common things that people are saying, and how have others dealt with it? So looking at Kenya, looking at the UK, looking at Singapore. And then eventually was to say, what do we think we should be doing going forward, so that the reforms become a reality and they become meaningful. Mind you, we're trying to deliver an efficient and effective public service, which is going to be the foundation for economic growth. If that is not functional to the same extent that we would like it to be, then we can, say goodbye to some of the things that we would like to do in the future. So in brief, this is what the Commission has been undertaking. So obviously we can go into detail in places where you would like a little bit more clarification. But I think to set the mood, let me stop there for a moment.
Maybe just before we even start looking at the findings, which I know we will do, there have been so many commissions in the past, different types of commissions, and probably the question many Malawians are asking are like, what will make this commission really deliver? Is this going to be binding? I mean, you've come up with brilliant findings, but how sure can Malawians be that they will really come into force?
Right. Thank you for that question. Let me say the one thing which I find to be most important. When you speak to the different stakeholders, be it those that we have spoken to as a commission or out there randomly, there is consensus that people want us to do things differently. So that goodwill is there. People would like to see first the public service reform, but I think some are going to the extent of saying maybe we should look at starting to reform all of us, not just the public service, but perhaps the private sector, perhaps the citizens of this country, so that we can see a different Malawi in the next 10, 15, 20, 50 years. So with that kind of background, we would like to believe, and actually we've got this conviction, that when we come up with the final report, which we are calling an action-oriented report. So we are going to come up with an action plan with timelines and with people that we're going to hold accountable for a period, so that then we ensure that there is delivery of the action plan. First. Second is we are prescribing for reinforcement of the public service management unit. Public service reform management unit, because these people are going to be the people that are going to be overseeing the reform activity within the civil service or the public service. Third, we have advocated for the creation of a ministry of public service reform. Reform is not a 1 day, a 1 month, a 1 year thing.
Absolutely.
It is for, actually you can almost say it is a forever, because we live in a world that is forever changing. And then last, we've also, having spoken to the other stakeholders, we are also recommending for the creation of a parliamentary committee on reforms, i.e. the reform song, if I'm going to call it that, must be sung by everybody. So when you go to the primary school, secondary school, you go to the university, you go to everywhere, every sector, we must be singing the reform song. From what we have seen, I'll give an example of Kenya, where they've done a very good job with their Vision 2030, which, by the way, they learned from Malawi, from the Vision 2020. They have done a brilliant job of it, and it is common knowledge, first from the head of state to everybody else. They know about Vision 2030. So we perhaps should be trying to get to something similar and rally the people of Malawi behind this plan, this agenda, this program, so that everybody should buy into it, should subscribe into it, should add value to the whole process, and make sure that we deliver. Because we can't go backwards. We must forge ahead. And therefore, it is unacceptable that we should continue to drag our feet. Perhaps now we should say, all of us, let's create the momentum, let's create the drive to forge ahead with the reform agenda.
You just talked about the people, Malawians, owning this, that it should be our own. It should not just be about the commission itself. But then when I look through the findings, I found that what is really coming out very clearly is that there's an inertia, or rather the work culture, which also is an issue that came out a lot in the Vision 2020, that Malawians, us Malawians, our work culture, work ethic is very poor. And this is what leads to all these other problems of the reform maybe continuing. The Vision 2020 was something that was sung in this country. If I remember vividly, I covered it like I don't know how many times, but later on it just fizzled out. And this is an inherent thing. How then do we hope that this can change the mindset of us Malawians? It will be people who will be more vigilant, try to work harder than we've done in the past, change just the whole work ethic attitude.
Right. Yeah, you see, you're right. First is for everything to forge ahead, we need the leadership to show us the way. Now the President has confirmed, he has shown his commitment to reform. and is fully supportive of the activities that the Reforms Commission is undertaking, including some of the things that we're going to be undertaking in the near future. Now, you see, why I'm saying we need to rally everybody behind, we need to first of all civic educate, help everybody understand the importance of these things. That's why I'm saying it's not just about the public service. Perhaps we need to extend it a little bit more. Now, let me also say something which I said on Thursday when we were doing the press conference. I said that in the third week of January, we are going to be inviting back the stakeholders that we spoke to at the very beginning, because they gave us some feedback or some insights. We have done our own research, and we've also formed our own perspective, but would like to bounce this back with them if it resonates with what they said, and if they think that the construction of the proposals is in sync with their thinking and their observations at that time. The idea is really that as many people as possible own the document that we come back with at the end of the day. Now, when we have got a lot more people owning it, they will become the first line advocates to go out there and preach the message about the reforms, and then they'll start winning a few more people to join this process and agenda of the reforms. I can assure you that perhaps in the past, one single difference will be how do we carry it forward? Right. Who carries it forward? Now, like I was saying earlier on, we have proposed the formation of a ministry, the creation of a reforms committee in Parliament. I'm hoping that these things will come to pass. If these took the lead, given the goodwill, given that there will be so many people that will subscribe to the reform agenda, given that there are so many people that can relate to the contents of the document, we have achieved perhaps 50% of the journey. The rest is to now make sure that we, once implementation starts, we have periodic reviews, including in the media, because what we're trying to do, one of the things is to sign performance contracts with individuals, not ministries, but individuals. So the individual signed to say, in this particular financial year, I'm expected to deliver the following. And you have your periodic reviews with your supervisor, and then at the end of the year...
have KPIs.
Absolutely. At the end of the year, they're going to rate you whether you have done extremely well, as excellent, or very good, or just good, or poor, or whatever, and then you will know your own future, because there is issues of there's no career or succession planning. There is no career growth within the civil service. There's stagnation. And because of that, obviously, you can't promote people. People are not being sent for training. Invariably, there is also issues of remuneration, etc. So now you got to start somewhere, and we're saying even the remuneration must take the shape of performance-based.
Yes.
We really don't want to continue paying people across the board. Others perform very well, others don't. So you must reward those that are performing very well. The hard workers must be rewarded accordingly. So I am convinced that with a ministry or with a team that is going to be following the implementation and ensuring that there's periodic reviews, this time around, we're going to get it right.
You're watching MBC Exclusive, and remember, we are looking at the Public Service Reform Commission, which is being headed by the Vice President, Right Honorable Saulos Chilima, and we're just looking at the findings which have just been presented. See you after the break. Welcome back. You're watching MBC Exclusive, and you're with me, Jane Gogodas. My guest today is the Vice President, Right Honorable Saulos Chilima, and we're looking at the Public Service Reform Commission, which he has been heading, which has just released its findings. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Before we left, we were talking about a lot of other things about who's going to own the whole commission report and everything else, and also looking at who's going to be policing this. But having read through the document, the findings, it's not really a document because you're going to release a detailed one. But looking at it, it looks like most of the stuff needs legislation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we need to, like you talked about the department that will have to be looking at this and that, and just what is the time frame like to ensure that we have that in place, to ensure that we start rolling the whole program?
Okay. Thank you. First is that there will be certain things that have got to be done so that they become reform enablers. Like some of the bills that will require to be passed and the laws that will need to be changed. But some of the recommendations may not necessarily impede the reform activities. For instance, the suggestion that we make about certain offices being aligned to the presidential term of office. Those may not necessarily be at the fore.
While you're there, we're looking at the tenure of office, that the ones which you are saying will be aligned. We're talking about the Attorney General's
Absolutely.
office, the Governor of the Reserve Bank,
Absolutely.
the Chief Secretary to the Government,
Yes.
the Director General of Malawi Broadcasting Corporation,
Absolutely.
the Inspector General of Police, the Commander
Yes.
of the Malawi Defense Force, the Secretary of the Treasury, the Budget Director, the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Bureau, and the Commissioner General of the Malawi Revenue Authority. So these will have to be, their tenure of office will be in line with the President's office.
This is the recommendation based on what we heard from the stakeholders.
From the people, yeah.
The stakeholders were basically saying there is no security of tenure of office, and then they highlighted specific examples and based on history. So the wish is to ring fence or protect these offices. Now, one perspective is to do this. There could be others, but obviously the status quo has proven that, there will always be these changes, and therefore you don't want to get into a situation where you're terminating people's contracts prematurely and then having to pay money. Everybody must know that I am going to be here for 5 or 10 years, depending on the tenure. We are encouraging people to be professional, but invariably what we have seen is still we need to be convinced that the professionalism is going to be appreciated to the same extent, because others will say this one was appointed by so and so. So it doesn't matter what I do, they'll still remain loyal to a particular individual. Now, it looks defeatist, I must say. It's conceding to something which is, you can question the governance side of it. But like I'm saying, we're provoking debate here. It's not conclusive yet. So when we come back in the 3rd week of January, perhaps with the stakeholders, they might have a variation to this. So I'm saying that area, while we say we must legislate it, it doesn't stop the reforms. This is a separate proposition. The ones that might stand in the way of the reforms may be things like the Public Service Act, because there are certain amendments that we make that will allow for the reform to take its full course. Some of the laws might be some constitutional, and this is why I'm saying we give people just a
snippet.
Well, I call it a synopsis, a starter of just to appreciate what's coming out. And we're going to, when we come back with the final report, we are going to give the background contained in this report that we released last week. What we're basically saying in there is that there must be a national development plan for Malawi. Now, all political party manifestos must speak to that national development plan. If you come up with a political party manifesto which is contradicting the national plan, you disqualify yourself, because the people are going to be saying, hang on a minute, we agreed that as Malawi, over the next 50 years, this is our agenda. And therefore, if your manifesto is outside of that plan, you don't stand a chance. So we're trying to align everybody, making Malawi bigger, or reminding everybody that Malawi is actually bigger than all of us. It's bigger than all the political parties or each individual political party. Malawi is for all of us, and therefore when we say our national plan is as follows, all must speak to that political party. So as absolute to that national plan, and this is why we are saying, as a stepping stone towards the development of that plan, we want to revive Vision 2020. We have got 6 years to go. Perhaps we don't have too much to show for it, but within 6 years we can achieve something. While we are trying to achieve Vision 2020, we should now start constructing our national development plan.
So the Vision 2020, because I've seen that you've alluded to it here and you're just mentioning it, it's in line with exactly what the findings have been on the ground.
Absolutely.
Right.
People are crying for a national development plan. Now, in the absence of one, there is one which we haven't fully accomplished.
Right.
So we are saying, and you probably heard the President, His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, when he was launching the compendium, he was talking about, today we are going to be speaking about 2064,
Yes.
which means we are already thinking about the long-term plan. So what we're saying is, while the long-term plan is being, we are engaging and consulting and so on and so forth, there is one that's in place already. Let's revive the Vision 2020. Let it be a stepping stone. And as a team is being put to look at the national long-term development plan, they will take some things from the Vision 2020, they'll consult, and they'll look at whatever else needs to be put into place. Over time, that will take over from the Vision 2020, and that should be legislated.
Right.
Okay, but it can only be legislated at that particular point in time when you've got one in place. But the thinking at this point in time, let it be as actually it must be in the Constitution. People should know that this is what Malawi wants to be.
So that's where the legislation bit comes
absolutely,
in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is why when you're engaging with the different stakeholders, it includes engaging with Parliament, including the Speaker, the Clerk of Parliament, and also engage other political parties, those that are represented in Parliament, and also those that are outside of Parliament, so that everybody understands our background and what we intend to do going forward.
But isn't there a danger then that, for example, if these public offices are like, going to be ending at the same time when the presidential term is ending, isn't that like cutting off continuity? Because they'll be like owning the program, and suddenly the tenure is finished of the president, and they all go, and a new team comes in. Won't there be a bit of a problem there?
Well, that's one way of looking at it, and you're absolutely right. But you see, if we have a national long-term plan, it doesn't matter who is there. The plan is there. So, we encourage these people to be as professional as they possibly can be. And in terms of transitioning and continuity, if there is a plan, there must be systems that are going to support that plan. It must not be individuals. It must be a system. So all of us should work within a system. That system is what is going to ensure continuity, not the individuals. So that's one aspect. You see, the other angle, which is the exact opposite, is to say, the exact opposite of what you're saying, the other fear will be, if you didn't limit it, and then somebody else came and then they terminated, what happens? There's still not going to be any continuity.
Right.
Now, like I said earlier on, this is a proposal. It's one perspective. There could be another perspective. These are public offices, we agree, but they're politically appointed. So we need to find the best way to ring fence these positions. There could be others, but we said for a start, maybe we should limit it to these 10. By the way, the Attorney General is already in place. It's one of the 10.
All right.
In actual fact, there's only 9 that are there. So we should try and limit, ring fence these positions to avoid political interference. Because the other issue that came about was political interference in the way the appointments are done.
In fact, that was my main question. Actually, now you've preempted it, because I wanted to say that the political influence does also affect the appointments, and it also affects how the service, maybe the public service, delivers in the long term. But maybe let's move on, because time seems to be slipping so quickly. When you look back at what the findings have been like, are you optimistic that this can happen within this tenure of office, or you're looking at way beyond the 5 years for now, which we're talking about?
Some would definitely happen. I always believe we must do what we can do when we are given the responsibility. We will do something, somebody will come and take over from where we leave it. But what's important is, let's make sure that we set in place something that is long term. Today I am chairman of this commission. Tomorrow I will not be chairman of this commission, because our tenure will be expiring. 31st of January, our mandate expires. So I'm no longer chairman of the commission. If we decided to continue with the Reforms Commission, it is the onus of the head of state to appoint a chairman of the commission. So I could continue, or somebody else could continue, could come in as chairperson. Now, while I'm chairperson, let me do my best to contribute towards the National Development Plan.
So what happens after January?
Right, what we did is we got an extension, just first because we had to come back and consult the stakeholders. Right. We didn't have adequate time in the month of December. So January, we consult back with the stakeholders in the third week, and therefore in the last week of January we fine-tune the report, we send it for printing, and then mid-February we release it to the public, launch it, launch the reforms again, relaunch Vision 2020, and also launch something that we are calling Organizational Performance Assessment, so that it becomes our way of doing business in the public service. After that, the commission will rise, and then it will be up to the head of state, the president, to advise what next. But our wish is that during our tenure of office, we contribute in a small way towards the national development.
Right Honourable Vice President, thank you so much for making an appearance. I mean, there are so many questions that we all have in our minds, but time is a limiting factor. But thank you so much for making an appearance, and we'll keep on knocking on your door because we want to hear more and learn more and understand and own this, because it's Malawian and it's ours. It's not for you and the Commission, it's for all of us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That's all we had time for in this edition of MBC Exclusive, in which we're looking at the Public Service Reform Commission, which has been chaired by the Vice President, the Right Honourable Saulos Chilima. I'm sure you've heard it for yourself. This is a vision that we have to own as Malawians. It's not for the commissioners or the commission itself. It's something we have to learn and own it so that Malawi can go forward. So until next time, when we meet again on the same forum, I'm Jane Gogodas on behalf of the entire production team. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.